The 5 chord forms of the guitar are all named for the 5 major chords in open position: C, A, G, E, D. As long as this order is maintained, you have a cohesive matrix of the neck. We start with E, go to D, go to C, go to A, go to G. These are shapes, these are forms. This particular order, taken from open position and extended up the neck, allows you to interconnect all the scale studies octave point to octave point. This allows free movement up and down the entire length of the neck without any gaps. Diagram number 1 will help you see this. The 5 forms are always connected this way. E and G forms share a common bass note. A and C forms connect with a common bass note as well. D form falls in between E and C, and the whole neck is connected as shown by our diagram. Start this exercise by strumming the first chord at the top of the neck, E, as it shows in its home form, in its home position, and at 70 beats per minute on the metronome. Count 1, 2, 3, 4 with the metronome. On beat 4, make your move up the neck to the next chord form, which would be E as a D form. Barring at the 2nd fret and placing your last 3 fingers in a D form position. Again, count to 4, and on the 4th beat, move to the next chord form up the neck, which is E as a C form. Again, 4 metronome clicks, moving up once more on beat 4 to E as an A form. Count and move on beat 4 to the last chord form, E as a G form, which brings us to the end of the octave, or the 12th fret. Count 4 and move down the neck to the previous form, and so on until you get back to the E form in its open or first position, or better known as its home position, where E is actually E. As you do this, take note of which are the common notes from position to position. Get used to putting your left hand smoothly into each form, up and back, and in time. Now start the next sequence by moving up a half step and repeating what you just did. When moving everything up a half step, you should be barring at the 1st fret with your index finger and playing the E form chord with your last 3 fingers. Now the E form chord you are playing is an F. It's actually in the key of F, and all subsequent forms you play, D, C, A, and G, will also be F major chords. This is why we call them chord forms, when each of the 5 fundamental chords are not in their open or home position. The 5 forms are named for what they are in their open or home position. Don't forget that. They are named for the root bass notes. The root bass note for the E form and G form is on the lowest or 6th E string. When moved out of the first or open position, they retain the shape of the E and G, but the new name is the letter name of the bass note that's on the low string. The root bass note of the A and the C forms are on the 5th string, or the A string. For the D form, the root note is on the 4th string, or the D string. It only makes sense to memorize the notes on the E, A, and D strings, in that the root bass notes for the 5 forms are located on one of those 3 strings. Here's an example. Bar at the 1st fret and form an E form chord. The new name is F major because the root bass note on the low E string is now F. Move all your fingers up 1 more fret, and the new chord name is F sharp major because the root note on your bar finger on the lowest string is now F sharp, or it could be called G flat. This rule holds true for all the other forms. As you move up the neck, you get different chord names without changing your finger positions or changing your chord shape. All you have to change is where you bar. Easier said than done. This requires a lot of practice. Once mastered, though, you will never be at a loss for knowing where to get hold of any chord you want with a minimal amount of motion. Keep moving up the neck until all 5 fundamental forms show up in their open positions. Each time a fundamental form is fully on the neck, start the exercise with that form. When you have moved up to the 3rd fret with your bar finger playing the E form, you should actually start strumming the G form in its home position. So to further illuminate, once you do this half steps at a time exercise and move up the neck and find all the variants, you'll realize there's really 5 variations of the chord form study. And of course, I'll just demonstrate them for you right now. The first one, of course, is the one that spells the word caged. Remember, that word's always inside here, and everything is juxtaposed together. So the first one is C-A-G-E-D. The next one will go to A in open position. A, G, E, D, C. So it's still spelled cage, starting at a different letter. Okay, let's go to the next letter name. G. G to E to D to C to A. Again, if we started over, that would make the word caged in a loop starting at the G form in its open position. Great place to start these practices. The next one would, of course, be E. That's the first one I show in the book. To D, to C, to A, to G, and back. And of course, the last one would be D in open position, which is the last letter in the word cage. So it's D, C, A, G, E, D. Again, if you were to repeat and go past the 12th fret, you start the pattern over again. That pattern's the same in every key. That means when you learn your scale shapes and your chord shapes, no matter where you are, you're always playing the same 5 shapes and everything becomes keyless. We can set up a number system, which we'll do later on in the book and the videos. So practice the whole exercise at least 5 times daily until mastered. Obviously, if you can do it 50 times a day and take up a time space of around 20 minutes, that's probably ideal. As you're able to move forward on your metronome setting to a faster speed, obviously you'll get through the reps quicker, but you want to also go back and revisit that slower time. Make the notes sound really pretty. Make them sound full. Look for that sound that's your sound. Once this chord exercise is mastered, you can add the scale exercises to it. One of the key things to remember is where your left hand belongs as it moves up and down the neck. Pay close attention to the shape of each form and how it feels. Take particular note of the octave points and where they connect within the forms. Try to hold fast to your 4 fingers, 4 frets rule. When you have mastered this motion, you can add the scale studies in it, what we call a spelling bee fashion, where you play the chord, play the scale, and then back to the chord. Then move up to the next chord shape and repeat chord, scale, chord, like you would in a spelling bee. This is the next level and condensed exercises segment of the videos. So keep up the reps and good practicing.